What up, Blackish fam? I hope all is well in your corner of the world. Man, really excited. I got a notification that Black Thought put out something new. Looks like it's called A Letter to Hip Hop, a love letter to hip hop. And if you guys don't know about Black Thought, man, he's just underrated. Someone that's gotten a lot more love and respect after that Funkmaster Flex freestyle a few years back, where he just went off for like 10 minutes. But Black Thought, also of the Roots, man, it's just the truth when it comes to hip hop, and definitely knows his history. If you know anything about this station, we love to do intense breakdowns where we're going bar for bar. We're breaking down his political references, religious references. This cat is just on point with his writing, so really excited to see this love letter to hip hop. Let's get right into it.
Beneath the flickering lamppost, we dance, managing to keep the kick of the amp closer than what
Okay,
some refer to as
so it sounds like this is a cappella, unless there's going to be a beat drop here. Let it rap. You hear that the spray painting.
beneath the flickering lamppost, we dance, managing to keep the kick of the amp closer than what some refer to as the Spirito Santos. That's
Okay, Espírito Santos. That's Portuguese. That means Holy Ghost. Um, but I like what he's saying, right? He's talking about beneath the flickering lamppost we dance, right? Normally it makes you think of hip hop. He said managing to keep the kick of the amp closer than what some refer to as the Holy Ghost. Obviously, amp, you're playing music, but a lot of people don't know is that way back in the day, the early days of hip hop, people actually broke into the city street lights because they have an electrical box, and they would use that voltage or the electricity to power their amps and their turntables and speakers. So there's a lot when you start talking about flickering lampposts and amps. There's a lot of that in hip hop history. Let's let it ride.
the kick of the amp closer than what some refer to as the Spirito Santos that span days of Dapper Dan through June Ambrose.
Ooh,
Clap our hands.
yo, he's taking us into a hip hop lesson here. I'm here for it too. Shout out to Dr. Joseph Flynn, Northern Illinois University Center for Black Studies. I actually took a hip hop course with him, right? Understanding the origins of hip hop. And man, it just helped me. I kept diving into other hip hop, reading more about it. So I love stuff like this where they're referencing really icons in hip hop that really don't get a lot of respect, or a lot of people simply don't know their stories. Dapper Dan, his real name was Daniel Day. This is a cat that was born in the 40s. So he would be pushing 80 if he's still alive. I believe he might be. But he's a fashion designer. And this is before he had this really influential store that a lot of people know. He really got his start by selling stolen goods, right? There were a lot of people that wouldn't work with him. And he made some of the fashion. I mean, when you talk about early hip hop, the fashion world, this guy's made clothes for Eric B, Rakim, Salt and Pepper, LL Cool J, Jay Z. He even did a fashion line with Gucci. And it just became really well known in New York. I believe he's from the Bronx, but this cat, at one point, he was operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He was teaching himself how to work with leather, how to work with different logos, really looking at these high end designs and making clothes for people in the industry when a lot of big brands simply weren't doing that. The same with June Ambrose, actually. She's a little bit younger. I want to say 20 or 30 years younger. But she's really became not just a creative, but also an influencer. She's known for basically putting together a Puma brand. I believe it was a women's brand, if I'm not mistaken. But she's also done a lot of high end pieces. She's worked with people like Jay Z, a lot of those early '90s videos where you see like Missy Elliott, and you're like, damn, look what she got on. Where do you get something like that? Well, you get it from June Ambrose, right? That's who he's referencing.
The kick of the amp closer than what some refer to as the Spirito Santos that spanned days of Dapper Dan through June Ambrose. The band made us clap our hands. What came after was the scratch from the Grand Wizards and Grand Masters.
Ooh, see, at first glance, it might sound like he's talking about the KKK or something, right? He's talking about Grand Wizards and Grand Masters, but there's a lot of old hip hop in this, right? When you start talking about the Grand Wizard, you're talking about who's the Grand Wizard? That's Theodore. That's Theodore Livingston, right? He's a Grand Wizard in hip hop. He's basically the dude that invented the scratching technique, right? He also did, there's like needle drops. If you know old school hip hop and working with turntables, this is where that originates from, right? He's the one that's credited with not just inventing, but perfecting that technique. And it really is the same with Grandmaster Flash. So when he's referencing a Grand Wizard or Grandmaster, Grandmaster Flash was this cat named Joseph. And again, shout out to Dr. Joseph Flynn at Northern Illinois University. That's how I happen to remember that name. But he was a DJ, he was a rapper, but he's really known as really one that pioneered the use of the turntable as like a musical instrument, right? So these are people that are in the origins of hip hop that really helped define the culture, and that's who he's referencing here.
That spanned days of Dapper Dan through June Ambrose. The band made us clap our hands. What came after was the scratch from the Grand Wizards and Grand Masters. One topic of discussion was whose hands were faster than a 6 train, where the illest tags were plastered. The pillars of a village.
See, listen to what he's saying, right? The topic of this
tags were plastered. What came after was the scratch from the Grand Wizards and Grand Masters. One topic of discussion was whose hands were faster than a 6 train, where the illest tags were plastered.
Yeah, he's talking about the 6 train. That's the subway in New York, right? So he's talking about throwing up graffiti. Anyone who's ever tagged or so knows you need to have quick hands, right? Because you mess around and get caught. But they're also talking about right on the turntable. So just the wordplay is sick, but it's really important to understand these references as well.
What came after was the scratch from the Grand Wizards and Grand Masters. One topic of discussion was whose hands were faster than a 6 train, where the illest tags were plastered. The pillars of a village at the origin of it.
Yo, when you talk about the pillars of a village, right, or the origin of it, he's talking about the origin of hip hop. But there's what they called 4 or 5 pillars of hip hop as well. You could be talking about hip hop as a village, but and there's a lot of debate about what the pillars are. But the original ones were really quite simple. It was DJing or turntabling, right? Rapping, also known as being an MC or MCing, or rhyming, right? There's graffiti painting, simply known as graffiti to most people, or writing, and then there was breakdancing, or b-boys and b-girls, right? Those were the essential elements that made hip-hop. Over the years, that's been defined by other people, thinking Zulu Nation and other people that try to establish other elements that go into hip-hop. But those are the original pillars.
Where the illest tags were plastered. The pillars of a village at the origin of it came to occupy the space of our eternal beloved. This culture we constructed was determined to thug it and keep it rugged, while the proverbial gates got flooded.
The proverbial gates, right, of hip-hop were flooded with all sort of influences, and we had to hold on to it, right? It eventually turned into gangster rap. It turned into a lot of other things. He said we managed to keep it hood, but really everybody wanted a piece of hip hop once they determined how profitable it was.
Origin of it came to occupy the space of our eternal beloved. This culture we constructed was determined to thug it and kept it rugged, while the proverbial gates got flooded. Cold-blooded, no budget, but we became raw to end the gang wars. What we started this thing for.
When he starts talking about ending the gang war, you have to think about the time, right? This was a time when New York was struggling. Right, the Bronx, these boroughs of New York, it wasn't just poor. It was also more or less hopeless. And there were a lot of gang issues. So Afrika Bambaataa, it's this cat actually named Lance Taylor, but he was a DJ, he was a rapper, he's a producer, I guess, nowadays. But a lot of people don't realize that this cat was a gang leader, right? He grew up in the Bronx, and he co-founded a gang that was called the Black Spades. And he was well known. He was very influential. He worked with a lot of youth, if you would. But he was really inspired. Originally, his inspiration was the Zulu people, and they actually have a chief. It's not Bambata, but it's a very similar name. I can't remember what it is off top, but he started leading the gang in a positive direction. And he eventually established this hip hop awareness group called the Universal Zulu Nation. Remember when we were talking about establishing those pillars, that's what they were doing. So really through this music and this gang organization structure, he was able to determine how to really get hip hop out into the world. So yeah, there are a lot of there's a lot of people that went from bad to good in the history of hip hop. It's really important to understand the roots, no pun intended, Black Dot, but the roots of hip hop to really appreciate where music is today.
Budget, but we became raw to end the gang wars. What we started this thing for. So were we kings of pursuing visions of grandeur? With the rhythm, it was true religion we came towards.
Yeah, true religion. That's I don't think he's referencing any specific religion, but that's the brand that's really accepted by the hip hop community. You'll see a lot of rappers today that are rocking true religion.
Visions of grandeur. When through the rhythm, it was true religion we came towards. When Sylvia Robinson became a hip hop, who could have known we'd ever reach the tip top?
Talking about Sylvia Robinson. See, if you don't understand the history of hip hop, you won't get that reference, right? Sylvia Robinson was really the driving force behind some of who's ever heard of Rapper's Delight, right? It was one of the first, if not the first, rap song that got radio play, right? And became more of a mainstream hit. That's the hip hop, the hip it to the hip hoppy, you don't stop, the rocket to the bang, to the boogie, the up jump, the boogie to the bang, to the rhythm, the beat. Now what you hear is not a test, I'm a rockin' to the beat, right? That was back in '79. That's actually before I was born. That's by Sugar Hill Gang. But they also have The Message, right? That was Grandmaster Flash, who we already referenced in the Furious Five. But she actually produced both of those tracks. Think about that. You have not just somebody who's into hip hop, but a woman in hip hop at the origins of hip hop. And that's why a lot of people simply refer to her as the mother of hip hop. Again, that's Sylvia Robinson.
Robinson became a hip hop mogul. Who could have known we'd ever reach the tip top total? Or
yeah.
One common cause could become so noble.
Common, shout out Common for Chicago. His original name wasn't Common Cause, though. It was Common Sense. That's who he's referring to. Chi-Town, shout out Chi-Town.
We'd ever reach the tip top total, or how one common cause could become so noble that we'd be going exit through the gift shop global. That kept giving us life and keeps giving advice.
Yeah, hip hop means a lot to some people, right? It means something different for everyone, but it gives people hope. It gives people advice, right? Now he says it keeps giving us light.
Of its own and keeps living. We found strength in numbers, many of whom were women like Sha Rock.
Ooh, right. We did find strength in numbers, right, in the hip hop community. And again, if you're gonna appreciate some of the more modern day rappers, you have to think about OGs, right? He's talking about Sha Rock. Sha Rock, her name was Sharon Green. Most people would refer to her as the first female rapper or MC. She went by MC Sha Rock, right? I'm not sure if she was from New York, but I'm sure that's where she became more famous in the early days of hip hop.
The numbers, many of whom were women like Sha Rock and them who were there from the beginning as all rocks. They could never be kept in a vault. There'd be no Kim or Nicki Minaj.
From the beginning is all rocks. I wonder if he's referring to like rock and roll. A lot of people say rock really kind of paved the way for rap and then eventually hip hop, right? But he could also just be playing off Sha Rock, who he just referenced, or Smoking Rocks, right? But he could be talking about top rocking too. If you guys are familiar with breakdancing, Top Rock, it's basically when you starting, you're really kicking off, getting into a breakdance movement. And a Top Rock is where you move your foot forward while you're standing, and it's like kind of the opening to breakdancing. There's also the Down Rock, right? But I have a feeling he's referencing the beginning of rap and kind of the transition from rock and roll to rap, right? Where you might want to hear songs like "Walk This Way," right? A little Run DMC. So just sit.
In the beginning is all rocks. They could never be kept in a vault. There'd be no Kim or Nicki Minaj without pepper and salt.
Ooh, yo.
And thank Latifah and Light and L Boogie.
L Boogie, that's Lauryn Hill, right? He's referencing these older artists. He's basically saying, I hope the newer generation understands the struggle and what some of these early artists had to do, right? Salt and Pepper, right? Who is that? And DJ Spinderella. You might have heard of Shoop Ba-Doo, Shoop Ba-Doo, 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 right? That's one of their songs. There was what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. He's a mighty good man, right? That's one of their songs. I think there was a Geico commercial that kind of got people more familiar with Push It. Push it real good. That's one of their songs as well, right? So he's saying Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, know who Queen Latifah is, right? UNITY, that's a unity. And Lauryn Hill, we can get into a whole conversation on the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. But these are OGs that really paved the way for you to succeed. And there's OGs on the male side as well, that it's just really important to understand their style, where they came from, why they do things a certain way. And you can understand Coast Contra, Black Thought, Toby Wigway, Nas, Jay-Z, right? These are people who influenced your favorite rapper.
I hope Cardi B and Megan thank Latifah and Light and L Boogie, superheroes who were eager to fight before our entire lives became computerized. We were back spinning in shell toes and Puma Clydes.
Puma Clydes, that's like, those are old school. That's for like those flat Pumas that you see a lot in breakdancing.
Computerized. We were back spinning in shell toes and Puma Clydes as we watch some of our stars continue to rise up to Jupiter and Mars. We learned.
Ooh, they went somewhere entirely different, right? Somewhere where no one's gone before. Now we got hip hop billionaires.
Credentials and how to maximize the potential to build brands.
Yeah.
Proper groundwork's essential to go from Public Enemy to Tribe Called Quest, Jay-Z, Diddy, Pharrell, Drake, or Kanye West.
Yo.
Our world could be as free as Ron Artest.
What, free? Because what? Free agent Ron Artest, or free like in the way of thinking, right? Ron Artest, he's an NBA legend. He's like a bad boy of the NBA. But I think after the NBA, he changed his name to like Meta, right? Meta World Peace or some. This dude is off the charts, a little crazy, but it's talented, at least when it came to basketball.
Break or Kanye West to where our world could be as free as Ron Artest, in a place where no one else has got to sign our checks. We made
You're your own boss.
Like Run and DMC when we came in the door like Ra and Eric B to make something out of nothing. He talks about Ra and Eric B. He's talking about Rakim and Eric B. There's a track called "I Came in the Door" that's on the Eric B for President or Eric B is President old school album, right? When no one else has got to sign our checks, we made fortunes out of fame like Run and DMC. When we came in the door like
Ra and Eric B
to make something out of nothing, and it's come to define a legacy more meaningful than just a moment.
Something out of nothing.
The brilliance we reveal instead of holding inside, ordained by God's the only way we know to describe. If you rolling, let's ride. You're welcome to get in the car. Be whoever you need to be, but don't forget who you are. Stars, black as my thoughts are. It's true that back in the day they used to report how you were too black or too Latin, too tapped in, too from the hood. But ever since we conquered Hollywood, it's been all good. Really feel like it
really, since the changes in Hollywood being more accepting of black artists, and a lot has changed, but it's very difficult. It's hard for someone who's not black or not Spanish or multiracial to really understand. I think Drake said it really well, where there's one of his earlier songs. He said, they used to say I was too black. Now that I'm rapping, I'm not black enough, right? And a lot of times it comes from our own communities, right? Where he's acting and they're saying, yo, you're too black. Your hair is too different. You're being too hood for acting. But then he gets in the hip hop game and people are like, yo, what are you, mixed? We got to stop doing that to ourselves, right? I've heard that my whole life. I'm black and Mexican, but my Mexican father wasn't really in my life. I was raised by my uncle, who's also black from Mississippi. And, it's confusing, right? Because we go pick up our report cards and, I see this big black dude, this black chick, and then me walking through looking like I might be Arabic or Puerto Rican or something. I'm a big dude, too. I'm like 6'1", 340 pounds. And people are looking like, bro, you sure that's your dad? Like, no, it's not. This 5'7" black dude's not my dad. It's my uncle who raised me, but this is my mom. They're like, your mom's black? Like, yeah, bro, not all black people are the same color, bro. So we got to stop doing that to ourselves, right? And if I hear another person say that, you sensitive, quit acting light-skinned, right? Man, let it ride.
But ever since we conquered Hollywood, it's been all good. And it don't even really feel like it take long to get from a payphone to Twitter. You stay strong.
Ooh. Yeah, it doesn't seem like long at all, right? These have all happened in my lifetime, and I'm sure Black Thought has seen even more than me. He's older than I am. But we've seen people go from going on a payphone, putting in quarters, dimes, and nickels, and carrying around a change purse, to using a pager, to an alphanumeric pager, to a car phone, to a cellular phone, to a cell phone, to a handheld mobile device. I don't even use a phone anymore. I simply use a tablet because, I found that I don't really use the phone that much. I'm always video calling or I'm always searching, trying to watch videos or whatnot. I'm like, why am I struggling on this little phone? I can get a tablet that has all the same functionality. Right. So we've seen that happen in a relatively short time frame. Not like the newer generation that they've had phones their entire life. Right. We understand what it was like before that.
Long to get from a payphone to Twitter, you stay strong and diligent. Great songs created the safe zone that did it. Citizens repping the name of their place.
Did he just reference the Diddy Citizens? Well, that was Citizen Change was the name. This was a political service group. It was started in the early 2000s. This was like right when I came out of college. I want to say 2004-ish. But it was founded by P. Diddy. I believe they had Mariah Carey. 50 Cent was hot at the time. Mary J. Blige. This was a group that was trying to influence they're trying to be influential to young people, but the end goal was to get them to get out there and vote. It was called Citizens Change. P. Diddy's the one that started that.
Great songs created the safe zone that did it. Citizens repping the name of they place on. They fitted said it ain't where you ain't from. It ain't where you was headed. It's where you at. From here looking back, I say we did it. We made it. They hated and said we were over and gone.
Yeah, right. A lot of people said hip hop was a fad. We referenced that before. They it went from just possibly being a fad to being the number one genre of music. I believe pop is the number one genre, but then it's number one because of the subgenre of hip hop. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's how it's broken down, where hip hop is the number one genre.
Say we proved all of them wrong. You got your money right, mine right. We been in the limelight. It's the joint till you on point all the time. Fight, life, vamp life, jet life, tramp life. Do it for the gram. SoundCloud, Bandcamp life. Can't stop, won't stop. Body rock, dough knockers, clock hanging round the neck. Show shot, tour stop. Next joint to drop, gonna be more hot. Pure pot. Walk me to see if the
talking about the life of an artist, right? I'd love to hear this with a beat.
Knockers, bolt lock, clock hanging round the neck, show shot, tour stop. Next joint to drop, gonna be more hot. Pure pot. Walk me to see if the corner store got the boogie down. Break down, face down, take down. H Brown, H Town base, Harlem shakedown, Cape Town till the details of our escape down. We was hungry, but it's more than enough on a plate now.
Yeah, there's enough to go around.
10-toe toes, both hands, Peachtree.
Where all these artists are from, right? 8 Mile, Rosecrans,
and POs and OGs and
COs, correctional officers, POs, probation officers, parole officers, OGs, old gangsters, original
8
gangsters.
Mile, Rosecrans, 10 toes, both hands, Peachtree, the 9th Ward, in and out the psych ward, COs and POs and OGs and GOs, the rites of passage that's passed down from the griots.
Woo! Yo, if shout out too to our station, Blackish University, right? Modern day griots. A lot of people ask me, what's a griot, right? A griot is someone that really passes down oral traditions. It used to be a really highly respected position where they were storytellers, they were poets, they were historians, they were musicians, right? Very similar to Black Thought, very similar to how I want this channel to be. And if you like it, show us some love, man. We do intense breakdowns of the more lyrically dense artists that really have something positive to bring to hip hop, right? It's just something where we're not just listening to music, right? No, we're doing a breakdown. We're going bar for bar and understanding the context, just like we're doing in this video. And if you're a fan or a fan of Black Thought, we got an entire folder of Black Thought verses and songs that he's been on where we do break down political references, religious references, and Black Thought is what I would consider an intellectual. So it's really quite fun, but there's a lot of history there.
Here in the absence of egos, extraordinary ethos, take off from the Migos.
Woo, R.I.P. Takeoff.
Ecosystems is wild to think about how long the people have listened now. 50 years down.
Yeah, 5 decades. And Black Thought's been around for a lot of that.
Is where our hearts live, and that's word. I'm not the herb. Understand what I'm saying.
Ooh, that was just sick. I expect nothing less from Black Thought. This guy always brings the truth, right? He always brings real writing, real lyricism, real hip hop. And it's just so important, especially in this day and age, where, you know, I'm talking to somebody younger and there's like, you know, who is this? Who is Slick Rick? Who is this? Bro, you got to understand where hip hop comes from to really understand where hip hop is going. Right? Understand why artists do things the way they do, and you'll have a better understanding of hip hop in general. Man, love it. It's a love letter to hip hop. I'd love to hear it with the beat. I'd love to hear a remix. I can envision Comment or somebody on this, but man, sick. If you guys are a fan, show some love, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, Black Thought is an artist where anytime he puts out something new, you'll definitely get a notification from me, and we'll be breaking it down in detail. So make sure that you don't miss out on anything, and subscribe to the station.